Hello and welcome to Farmhouse Rehab episode 11. Our last episode I said was episode 9, which in fact was episode 10. This time I'm going to try to make a big boy video and I'm going to try to have better shots, and we're going to focus on just two things this time. Well, three things. So here we go already. It's already starting. Let's go see what we're going to focus on. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a door in this closet. So that is task number one. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to finish trimming out the plumbing in the bathroom. We're going to put a faucet on there, and we're going to put our shower fixtures in. That will be number two. Number three, so here is our kitchen stuff. This is going to be our opening, which is barely going to be big enough, but I think it's going to be fine. And then, of course, this is going to be back up against that. There'll be a knee wall behind there. So we're going to have about 28 inches in there, which I think is acceptable. This will be standing up. But what we're going to do is, this is our farmhouse sink cabinet. This pipe here needs to come up in this cabinet, angle over, and then it can just, be like this, and we can tap into that. And our water lines too. And so we need to get all this back and this tucked into the corner and get these bottom cabinets set. And this is our range cabinet. And it looks like that outlet will be hopefully far enough out of the way. I'm going to have to check on code on that. That is going to be our power for our range hood underneath a cabinet there, so that should be okay. And that looks fairly centered. We got these cabinets for free, and this sort of setup here fits pretty good. If I had ordered these, our sink is pretty much lined up with the center. No, it is not perfect, but at a certain point, if I push this out here, or the sink out to the center, then I've got a little space there, but I got no space over here for the dishwasher. So the other thing that we're missing here is a trash can, which probably, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to end up putting it in something over here. I will talk to Michelle about that and see what she thinks about that idea. So those are our things in this video that we are going to do. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is this bathroom, and what I notice immediately is that the screw in there that you can't really see, this needs to come down just a hair. Let's see if I can get some light on here so you can sort of see it down. Look at your bottom left. Let's see. There's the top one. You see that hole? Plenty of clearance. Down there, believe it or not, when you're level, you can't get to it. So this area here needs to get ground out, but we're not going to grind it. We're going to try and very gingerly file it and see what happens. Because what we don't want to do is crack that tile. So let me file away off camera, and then we'll see if we can get it lined up. Okay, so I decided to use my hammer drill, and one little hammer went boink and made a hole in there. So let's see if we can. Anyway, you can now see, there it is. You have access to it. So let's put this thing on. Lucky nothing else cracked. Okay. Now we're gonna get our handle. Put this handle on. Okay, so we've got this set to where that is max. I put the Posi temp stop in there, but it's at the max. So that way you can control how hot you want it. If somebody is worried about getting burned, they can remove this. And anyway, let's put that on there. Now this should be off. I should be able to unscrew this without getting water all over me. Let's see what happens. So, as is tradition, this thing isn't covering, this hole is too big. I just got a bunch of plumber's putty on there, but I mean, the water comes on, that works. But now that's gotta come off, and I need to go to Lowe's and buy an oversized version of that, which hopefully exists. So I'm gonna get some food and do that. It makes more sense to go over to my sink rather than drive to Home Depot and back or Lowe's. I can get that a different day, maybe tomorrow. And it's unlikely they're gonna have a large black one, so I'll have to paint something. Anyway, I'll switch over to the sink here, see how far I get with this. Okay, so now, got our sink all hooked up.
Nothing's leaking under there. I could have put that one lower, but I don't know what I was thinking. I do have a expansion tool that I got at DeWalt, and so I like to use this cold expansion packs, and it just makes life easy. But anyway, that looks good under there, no leaks.
So now I have almost a shower. I'm waiting for my scutcheon and a toilet and a sink. I gotta hang a light up there, but what I gotta do now is my business partner needs to borrow my chop saw, so I'm gonna see if I can get this door and trim this out real quick. I got 2 hours. Let's see if we can do it. All right, first we're gonna take this factory trim off this door because we're not using it. We're using just plain white trim. So let me get all this off of here. Okay, I got the trim off. We don't have enough height here, so we're gonna, this is just a closet. There's nothing load bearing here, so we're going to, basically what's gonna happen is we're gonna take off a 1/2 inch of drywall and rip that thing across and tuck this thing in there. So we'll see how this works. First I'm gonna mark the top. I took my power saw and went as deep as I could across this way. I formed my line. It's clearly not perfect there, but I'm gonna take my Sawzall and get in there and use that to take the rest of that out. And then I'll have a little bit of what's left of that 2x4 to nail to on top. And again, there's nothing structural here, so no harm, no foul. Okay. You can see how we have this shimmed here, but once you have trim out, it'll be fine. Our gap's nice. Door closes nice. Out here, you can see how far out that comes, but our trim will hit that. And we're pretty flush up here. But again, you gotta, fortunately this side is nice and square. So all this is gonna be all buried under some nice door trim. And it will actually help correct this angle here somewhat. So that'll be kind of nice. So let's see what happens. Okay, we're getting there. It's our outside trim. And it's within caulk tolerances. Yes. So that's very good. I got to put this piece back in here real quick. I'll do that. And then we'll trim inside. And then we're going to have an actual closet door. And then we can finish with our, well, let's put our trim in there. We can finish this in here and get this whole closet done. So I'm going to keep doing that today as long as I can. But it just closes perfectly. So that is good. Okay, so this mission accomplished. Whoops. Why don't I have hot water? Is my hot water on? Oh, my hot water's never on. Turn that on. There we go. All right. Now it's mission accomplished. Got hot water, got cold water. This, of course, is silver. They had no black ones, but I'm gonna just order the proper black one put that in there. Anyway, so that's done. And of course, this door is done. So this is nice. I think my trim around here has come out pretty good. Obviously it still needs to be painted, but it's caulked, and haven't finished all the caulking. I usually let the painters do that corner there, but that's a pretty good door. Door's never been in here. It's been something that's been a long time coming. It closes just great. And then we open the closet, and we've got our top molding on there and our base all around there. And this one even has a little thing for a bar. So I'm just gonna go get a bar and put it in there and call it a closet. But you know, joints are pretty tight. And so that feels good. So next thing I gotta do is put our scutcheon on there and finish the shower. All right, so now we've got our sink done. Got our hot water and our cold water. It's just a functional bathroom. There's our toilet. Got the larger scutcheon, so we don't have any holes there, and there's some plumber's putty behind that. And then we turn this on. There's our nice rain-style shower head. Shoots right down there in the drain. I guess I'm gonna get one of these things that hangs from here to hold the soap and stuff, or just use, you know, pump soap over there. We did not put a recess in there. That would have been good, but didn't do it. So anyway, it'll be okay. So that's that. So now we have functional shower. We've got a full functioning second bathroom. Our upstairs bathroom's good. Now this one's good. Now we just need to hang some towel racks. I'll probably put a hook right on here somewhere to hold a towel. And then obviously I'll get the design consultant, AKA Michelle, to come in here and help us with all that. So now the two next things on the agenda are to install this door, and then we are going to use the remainder of our floor to go this way. So that means this room needs to get emptied out, and I think table saw will go into garage. Maybe I'll do that today. This shelf here with all this stuff on it probably can go into the basement, because we want to start getting this room cleaned out here. That workbench there, maybe I'll put that in the room over there, because that'll still keep our permit on it. We don't need that piece of insulation for anything anymore, so that's going to go into garbage. So now I think today I'll just get that out of here and maybe move that and call it a day. Okay, so we've got goofy shelf down in basement. The stuff is just boxed up. That all needs to be gone through and sorted out and organized, which will be a project for one day. Slowly, we're going to be bringing everything upstairs, downstairs, and then out that door when it's time to leave. Less and less tools will be upstairs. And there's a clean corner, relatively. We're going to get all this stuff out next. And then I can start bringing the floor in here, probably about up to there, and then see what I got left. I only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, so I should probably be able to do across here, and then I can measure and order more and continue to get this room flooring done, which, as you can see, is a giant mess still, but all this will get cleaned up. But it is 90 degrees today, and I got to go to my other job, so that's what's happening. But look at that, yay. So next on the agenda, we're going to take this old door and we're we're gonna put it here. So I'm going to measure, see what happens. So miraculously, this door is 77 1/4 by 30, but it's really, like 30 and, the tape measure just fell off there, but it's really like, it's really 30 1/16. And then over here, we've got, you're gonna have to trust me on this because this is impossible to do. I'm trying to make a video actually showing something happening, which is not gonna happen. This is 30 1/4, or excuse me, 30 1/8. So I need to take 1/4 inch off the back of that. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm going to reuse, obviously, these cutouts in here. And then we're going to put the door in there. We're going to take 1/4 inch off the back side. Got that there to catch the door. I'm assuming we'll be able to shove it through here. Probably need to change the whole angle of this so we can do this one time. Let's bring this over here. And we'll pull that forward. Anyway, let's try this. All right, let's see what we got now. 29 3/4. I think that's going to be perfect. So, and because we have, that'll give us, not much on either side of the door, but probably about the right, I don't know what you generally want. But anyway, we're going to just bring the door over here. I'm going to take these hinges out and just set it in there and see if we got enough room to play around. And then I can raise it from the ground and I can mark where to route for the hinges. But first I'll take these off. So just with our initial door placement in, we can see that's gap gets larger over there. Yeah. And then if we bring this up closer to, anyway, and then the floor is very tight and then gets bigger there. So this is something that's kind of common with this house with nothing being square. So I'm going to try to get some shims and get this sort of lined up in here as best I can. And then I will mark where that goes. Now, I think what I am gonna do is I'm gonna buy the vintage lock set rather than, I was gonna drill a hole in here and it'll be kind of down here, but I think I'm gonna actually stick with that. In fact, I mean, I've got the other lock mechanism works fine, I don't have a key, but you can buy these repros. Otherwise, I gotta fill the door and drill it and do all kinds of other shit. So I'm just gonna get it hanging so where it opens and closes, then we'll order that. and that'll give it some character. And I may have to put some, let's get it in there and then we'll see what I may have to do. So I'm gonna shim it up and mark it, and then take my router and route out for these hinges. Okay, so I brought it up on shims there, and then I marked each of these. And so now we're gonna route them out. Could have been done a little better, and maybe it's a little deep. All right, well, there's one. All right, well, there's my line. Take my power saw and cut that off. So clearance here, we're good, but then, oh, that's where we run into it. So we've got to come down about a 1/4 inch at the end of the door. And it looks like from somewhere right around the middle, I'll strike it so that it just drops down there a 1/4 inch. Before I cut the door though, I'm going to push this out because we might be able to just drop it a little bit that way. Both of these need to be shimmed out a little bit. So I'll shim this flush here, which will definitely give me clearance. And then this one up here, which is even deeper, I'll have it maybe even come out slightly above it. So let's try messing with shimming it for a second. And then for down here, all right, so we've got our shim up there. Down here though, we've got, can feel a ridge right here. I mean, it's pinching. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my belt sander. It's pretty tight edge right here, but I'll probably come all the way down this edge here, but especially here where it's raised, and see if I can get that flat so it doesn't bind. And then maybe I'll shim it a little bit, but let's try sanding it first. Okay, big shim there. We got a baby shim with a taper going out that way so it's fatter. So let's see, let's put this back on and see how close we're getting. All right, so that's getting pretty close. This is closing. I'll take the gap on the top. Over on this side, we're gonna add a piece of trim just to make that tighter because it's a little bit loose down there at the bottom. I could, maybe I'll push that out. I'll push the bottom out a little bit, which will bring that a little bit tighter, but that might square it up. Also, it's kind of binding down there. So let me do that one step at a time here. I'm gonna use a hinge. I cut off the edges. I'm gonna put that on there, and that's gonna be my spacer going behind there. And let's try that. Okay, that's good. No major binding there. That little spacer did the trick. You can see we got a nice gap there. There might be a teeny bit of catching right in there. So I will run the sander up and down there. Flatten that out, but that's where there's a teeny bit of binding. So we'll take the door off again. And then there's a little high spot here. And when you close this, you can see it just kind of looks, So we'll try and take that hump down. Let's say mark from there. I'll make a couple marks and just try and take that hump down so it looks, or maybe better yet, I'll put a straight edge on there and take the hump down like that. So we're gonna take the hump down. This, I'm happy with this gap to there. We can definitely put something in there that's gonna make it nice and tight. And then yeah, so we just gotta get, in fact, probably what I'll do is maybe I'll put the sander on the door. I don't know. There's nothing is square in here, nothing's flat. I'm sure if I put a level on there, it'd go bonk, bonk, bonk. This we cut on the table saw, but I can see if there's a high spot. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there because still got this gap over here. That's still tight, but that's pretty square. The top's good. I wish I did not route out up there and down there. So I'm gonna get one more pair of these identical hinges and just use them as spacers. And I will space that out and, cut the pieces off like I did the other things. And then that should make it not hit anything. It'll close my gap a little bit. I got a little skinny piece of something for that gap, and then I'll order the door and then some painting and we should be good. All right, so a couple more little shims and things. We added a piece right here. I've already caulked over it so you can't really see. We've caulked in our corner. So what that's gonna do is that's gonna close our gap a little bit. The door, absolutely no resistance. Top seam's pretty good. Here's our side seam. We've got good clearance up here. At the bottom, it does get a little wider, but in here, where we're gonna have our striker, it's probably a little wide, but just about perfect. And we've got a nice gap along there. It's tight, but nothing's binding. So I ended up shimming out this bottom shim. And what I did is because if you remember, I had cut that too deep when I routed it, so I put another identical hinge piece back there. I just cut it off. So this is basically flush now, like it should be. So that came out good. So now, when you look at the hinges, nothing looks funny. It all looks good there. And of course, we're gonna paint this. And yeah, when you close the door, it's right up top there. Everything's in line. We're straight up and down. So this door here, I really am pretty happy about the way that came out after all that fussing. I probably could have just ripped the whole thing out and put a new door and a new trim, but I don't know. Now we've got an old door in the house, which for all intents and purposes would be very close to the original. So that's nice. Okay, so we accomplished that. Here's a little shower thingy for hanging up the soap and shampoos and whatnot. And actually right under there will probably not get super wet all the time, or maybe it will, but anyway, It takes care of one issue there. All right, so switching back to flooring, I've got an area about this big. It's clear of all nails and staples and everything. I'm gonna take my tool and go bring up the trim on that door and tuck in my next piece real tight, and then start bringing my flooring out this way until I run out. All right, so now we're in the room. Now let's start going this way and that way. We've got our out of square issue, but we're gonna put this piece on first, and then we'll put that piece on. Okay, now it's starting to happen. It's gonna be quicker. This room is just pretty wide open. I mean, well, wide open except for all this garbage and shit all over the place. But what'll happen is I get this done. First, I'll move that table over there and I'll start to organize and figure out what's garbage. I'll move this chop saw into here. This will become our working area and messy area. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay. Teeny bit more clean. I think what I'm gonna do is we are going to fill in this gap, and we're higher over there, about even over here. So at some point we're gonna have a hump. So I'm gonna have to have some kind of transition over there, but I'm gonna put the plywood in, see what we're looking like. I mean, maybe I can run the floor up and it'll just be, it's gonna be weird. It is gonna be going the long way, which might be better for a slight hump. So we will see, but I'm gonna go, we got the blue truck out there today. I'm gonna go get some more shoe molding while I'm at it. And I will also I'll probably get another pack of base for this room, although I probably don't need much. I think one pack of base would probably more than do it. I may need some for the kitchen, so a pack of base and maybe about 8 pieces of shoe.
I like using these registers. These are actually cast iron. Let's open that up. Keep stuff from going down there, so. There. I think I'm gonna switch gears. I got this flooring here. I could fill that in right there. But what I'm gonna do, because this thing is just in the way, I'm gonna work on this cabinet. This stands up right here, but that's in the way. So we need to cut out the bulkhead from the back of the cabinet, and then we need to sort of put it back together so that we still have a sturdy cabinet. So we'll just cut everything first, then use what we have left to sort of reinstall the back. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch gears and get this thing up out of the floor. And it needs to be done, so we're gonna do that. Bring this trim in, the shoe molding, bring this, and then I got some other stuff in the truck. So today it's like 100 degrees, and then you see it's hotter than that because of humidity. So we're just happy to be working inside. This, we're gonna get our other bottle of water. We're gonna drink 2 bottles of water today. We got band practice after work, so we need to be hydrated for that, and hydrated from the heat. All right, let's get this. All right, so I've cut the back out, which will hopefully make it fit underneath this bulkhead. So let's spin it around and see what it looks like. If it's good, I'll take it back down and then I'll fill that back in. Okay, so that's up in there. Pretty tight there, that looks good. Go all the way back here. all the way back there. This side's pretty straight. This side we got a big old gap, but we still have another cabinet coming out here, so we won't see that. But yes, I got that backwards. This was supposed to be here and this was supposed to be up here. But that's what trim's for. And this piece here would not be an outside piece. If I was gonna cover this and leave this open, maybe with a small counter here, then we'll deal with that. But I just want this out of the floor, but I do want to finish this and screw it up on here so it's in there. And then at a certain point, we can run our trim piece up to the ceiling if we want to do that. But we'll see how that goes. So, all right, let's do the inside of this thing. And what I might do is have this piece here come up a hair. Maybe I might even mount that up in there and shoot that while it's in there. I think I might do that. All right, so I put that piece of wood across there. So when we look inside, it'll be all nice and square. Now we're gonna do that. And we should be able to close this up and hopefully attach it to something. Okay, so there is our upper cabinet, all nice and trimmed out. Nice and tight back there. To the bottom, obviously the wall's got a bow in it like everything else, but we'll have something trimming that out. It's gonna be good. This side's tight on the floor, tight up against that wall there. So we have this thing off the floor. All right, so living room now is mostly floored. We ran out of flooring. We've got this floor's higher over here and lower over there. So I'm gonna have somebody make me a big wide transition strip that will compensate for that and sort of even that out. And then I'll stain that and make that look some kind of nice transition. And then this right here eventually will just be a short little area right there, and then everything else is all connected. So, but not bad. I'm gonna go out in the 1,000,000-degree heat, go get some food and go to Atomic and work there. So over here, I'm using some shims to bring this floor up to this level here, and it's actually not that noticeable. I mean, maybe a little noticeable, but it's not gonna be so bad. So that way I'll be able to have a nice transition strip there. It's certainly, and over here we'll do the opposite, just where this lip is, I'll just bring it up slightly over here. So that's gonna work for that. And it's certainly, I mean, you know, there's this dip in the floor here that this is the most noticeable one in the house, right over there. But you know, for a house that's this old, it's to be expected. It's part of the charm. So anyway, so I'm happy about that solution. I'll probably, now that I've got this like this, what I'll do is I'll cut this off here and then I'll twist it, because right now I've got it, the shim going in skinny side this way to kind of bring it up. But anyway, this is working, and I'll nail those down. Yeah, all right, happy with that. So now what I'm doing is I'm bringing in, I was short 10 boxes of flooring. Almost got them all in. It's another one. We're in Maryland, and it's like another one of these. What's today? Today is June 25th, 26th. One of these super hot days. So I'm just taking my time with my back. You know, one of these things might weigh, I don't know, 40 pounds, maybe 50 pounds. Anyway, but if I just take my time and get it all in, we're good. It's 10 boxes, so almost done with that. 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now let's go to work, and then we'll
We're working all day tomorrow, so nothing's gonna happen here tomorrow. When I say working, there's two jobs. There's the music shop and then there's this, not including any car stuff. So this will stay like this. Then Friday, off work, maybe I'll come in here for an hour or two and maybe finish this. That might be nice. And then start to clean this area up and move only the necessary stuff into here with the drop cloth. So I can finish up the flooring in there, because it'll be nice to get all the flooring done. Then I can really focus on my kitchen cabinets and building that knee wall and other stuff. And again, I don't think we're gonna have to go with knee wall here after all, because you really can't feel this transition. I mean, I guess maybe a little bit, but if nobody knows it's there, nobody's gonna ever know it's there. It's just gonna be nice, and we'll have a strip going across, and that'll be fine. So anyway, get that mess cleaned up. So, okay, so now I've got all my shims. They're all just going up, and it raises about 1/4 inch to there. So, and this is all nice and tight. There's no squish in there. So we should just be able to raise it. And I'm gonna bring them all out to basically the same point here. And then we put our transition strip in, the little centerpiece will drop in there, and you can see I've started to cut that, and we'll run that all the way down there. And the flooring place has a nice, perfectly matched transition strip that's 8 feet long. And I think that's what we got in between there, so we'll see. So there's a horror movie that all carpenters should see. On this side of the room, this piece going along there is nice and square. It's the same size, we're going all the way across. But on this side of the room, the unsquareness. That should be the name of the horror movie, the unsquareness. So this house, putting the addition on and everything else, everything is just so out of whack on the old house. I've never seen a house built so out of whack before, with so many wacky angles on everything. I mean, literally nothing is square. It's just amazing how they accomplished that. But once this floor is all in and we've got trim around here, it won't be particularly noticeable, but still it is notable. Anyway, we're gonna fill this last bit in and do that, and then we're done with this section. And then we'll start bringing some essentials over here and making a mess over on this side, and finishing up that last side of flooring. Okay, so we've got all our flooring now. We've got our base right up to here. I put the bottom piece of that base in there so I could measure out that small section there. And we'll go around the corner at some point and put our top back on there, but that gets this part of the floor all nice and done. We'll extend our little piece of shoe molding that way. So this room is essentially done. Now tomorrow we are going to move all of that crap, clean up a lot of it, and stack it neatly and move it in here. And then I'm gonna try to get a better system for catching all the crap that comes out of that saw. Maybe get a bag just to try and keep it from getting not so super messy. Anyway, I'm happy with that. And again, you don't notice anything's out of square now because the floor is all complete, but there we go. Okay, we're starting in there. That's what we got so far. All right, getting a little more floor done here. We've done all kinds of leveling here. You definitely notice something's going on right here, but it looks bad, but when you're stepping on it, it's not so bad. It tapers off down there, so we'll see. This is smooth coming down here. Anyway, it's a drag, I know, but we got to get that level. And I guess what I could have done is used floor leveling compound and made it much more progressive. But this, see, I don't notice it this way. So, yeah, maybe it's not so bad. There's one little spot there. I don't know. If it drives me nuts, I don't know, I'm not done yet. I'm gonna keep messing with it. I think because I know it's there, it's bothering me more than it would be. Let's see if I just walk. Oh, that's fine. I guess let's get it all done and then we'll give it the final walk test and squish test. There's plenty of areas of floor that are not level. This is all nice and level up here though, of course. I'm gonna go get my transition strip and get something to drink and put that in and then finish up here. Okay, so here's this cabinet, which we are going to cut in half. And this door here needs to close on this surface. So I'll probably start by cutting everything off. Not sure what I want to do. I wish I could somehow disassemble this. I'll see how it wants to come apart. I'm sure it's all glued and screwed together, but I want to do this as neatly as possible and do it once. It's going to go up against there. It's going to be our pantry, but only come out halfway so that you can actually, it'll be here. You want to actually be able to get through here. So we can do that. We can see this better. Also, I've gotten these doors now painted and the base painted. And this base and these doors. So this whole area here, that window, this area is essentially done. I'm just gonna now put the handles on those doors, so that's good. And also, this all got painted, which it wasn't before. So that's good. I think the base in there was not done and caulked. Let's see how this looks around here. Yeah, looks good. So that's nice. And then in here, we've got our old door, which is now painted. And of course, all the base in here is done. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess that was there. That little bit of weird trim, but they went ahead and repainted the base and caulked where I put the shoe on there. So this looks good. There's one piece of shoe I didn't put over there that I still need to put in there, so I'll do that. That can be touched up in the end. And this door here is painted now, so that's good. So making progress, but today I just want to focus on this because this is cannot be screwed up. It can be done one time and that's it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in big trouble. So let's see what happens here. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to 11.5 inches. That way this will overlap a 1/2 inch. This surface will be butted up to there. So that's what we're gonna measure and that's what we will begin to cut. Okay, so I'm gonna go by a rip fence. That's just, it slides in here and then it'll sit out there and then I can actually make these cuts much straighter. And I'm also gonna go get a fine tooth carbide blade so that this turns out nice. So that's what I'm doing next. All right, here goes nothing. Got my saw guide here, let's see if this thing works.
That looks like a pretty straight cut. So saw guide, we like saw guide a lot. And what happened is, towards the end here, we just got hung up in our, top there, which we're gonna cut that next, using the same edge, and it should be nice. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to orient this so I can cut it. Okay, there's a nice straight cut. We've started going down there. Now we're gonna jack this end up here and cut straight down that way. So using this guide in various configurations, I've managed to get a lot of it, but this is actually that line's drawn, that line's drawn. So now we're just gonna try and jigsaw some of this out here. And then once I get it in half, maybe at that point I can refine it. Maybe I can go down and get the whole thing off by, another 1/8 of an inch, but make it just perfect. So we'll see. Let's see how close we get. Okay. There's 1/2 of a cabinet. This is the side we're gonna be screwing our hinges onto. Now what we gotta do, this I can see is smacky wacky. So we're gonna start measuring over here and making various marks just so we can get that trimmed up. The back of it looks pretty good. I think we got a high spot in there, and we've got to adjust that over there. But I'm gonna switch gears and try and get this piece off nice and neat, and see the side piece. That's gonna take some time. Then I can put the two halves together, and then I can really see what needs to be taken down. And I think I'll probably end up doing that just with the belt sander. Okay, still cutting away my back piece here. At this point I'm getting a little confused. I'm definitely gonna replace this backboard here to make everything sturdier, but so I just need to cut this last little bit down there, and then I can lay this on top of there and see what we're looking at here. Okay, so there is the top, which we will nail together, and that's what it looks like from the front there. That's over there. Anyway, now the back of our cabinet, we've got that airspace back there, but we're gonna put a new back in there to hold it together better, because this back section here is getting cut out. So I really need something strong between the floor and up to where it goes. So I'll work on doing that. And I can put a bunch of nails in this side. You want to see that. And the other side, I will screw into and set those screws in. And then, well, the other screw's already attached. The other side's attached. So I don't know what I'm talking about. But I guess anyway, we'll figure it out. Let's keep going. All right, so I'm countersinking these with that bit there. That way that'll fit in there. And the most important thing is to get the front of this to look right. So let's put these screws in here. There's one screw there, there's two there. One of them is really countersunk. What I'm doing is I'm using the other half to cover up some space in there and make it nice and tight and hold this all together. And then we've got, of course, a screw down there. Then these are following the bottom. And now we're gonna put a couple back along this section here. And then that's as we had planned it. We've got a 1/2 inch overlap there. This will obviously screw into the other cabinet from this way. And this is not fastened, but that opens on there and closes on there. So that's our front. So yeah, a little caulk there, maybe a little bit there. And that joint's pretty tight up there. But anyway, the front looks great. And we're going to cut out the back of this now. So there is our shelf now. So you can see it's going all the way across and looks nice. There's a little bit of stuff in there, but we can fix that. But that's that shelf. Anyway, this thing is now back together solid, which I like. So now we're going to continue And the most critical part of this whole thing now is to cut the back out so that it fits up in there, but much prettier than that. So we're gonna measure, obviously, from the floor up to the back and from the floor up to the front, and see if we can get this laid out properly this time. All right, so now I've got that shitty back off of there, and we're gonna put some nice 3/4 back in here. We're going to also close in this area up here and screw all that together. So we're getting there. We've almost got our cabinet. I need to see if I can find something that I can rip down to 11.5. I have a piece of not 3/4 in the basement, but let me see what I got in the garage and see what we can rip down that'll look nice. What I'm doing is I'm taking the doors that I'm not using, I rip down each of the edges, and this will be what you see when you open the cabinet, which will be somewhat fancy. Let's see here. I need to loosen one screw up there, but yeah, this is gonna fit in there nicely. So let me loosen this up and clamp that in and put that on, and that'll be the back for that bottom half. All right, there's my cabinet. We're gonna put some caulk in there and some paint in there. It'll be great. All right, let's see if it'll fit. So that side piece there is what's gonna cover all that up and make that gap tight up there. We have a nice opening here. That's not an issue. And that's what that's gonna look like. So, without further ado, I'm going to probably stop for the day. I think that's good there. The door is going on this side, and we'll close this way. So, in the back of the cabinet, I mean, once it's painted, I think that'll be kind of fancy back in there, I guess. And you're not gonna see it because there's gonna be a bunch of shelves. Here's our shelf things there and our shelf things there. So the shelves should still work fine. So I think that's it. A little bit of cleanup in here and we're good. But I think for now, we're gonna call it a day. Maybe I'll put one screw in here just for safety's sake. So nothing falls over, and then I can take that out later, but I think that'd probably be a good idea. This here needs to get, maybe I'll get this back in here and line that up in the front before I go. And there is the finished product. We've probably missed lots and lots of steps. Thing is, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you get going and you don't want to stop. So that's what the inside looks like. That's by their door. And I guess a couple little spaces to caulk and fill in there. And of course there'll be shelves in here. And then for this side, I could do one of those and have some trim like that. And then that can be filled and that can be filled, that can be cleaned off. Or I have this piece here that could go on the outside of that. So I will consult Michelle about that. Okay, so here's some outside larger plates that haven't been on here. These are gonna be for our lights back here. So I'd knock that out real quick before it starts to pour. Now let's go inside. Okay, so we're doing a lot of moving the mess around. I grabbed that from outside That'll just be a temporary surface to put stuff on. I want to clean all this off, and then I want to sort of check the level of that. I need to cut this down, screw all this together, get my exact length measurement, and then have my outside piece here, which we're going to use the other piece of that for the bottom, because it'll actually have that cutout in it, interestingly enough, right there. And then I can start building this wall, but there's just crap everywhere, so we gotta move more crap. So I'm gonna figure out where to put that temporarily. Maybe I'll put it right in this corner here. I think that's what I'll do. And ADHD brain switch alert. Whoop, whoop. I think we're gonna actually put flooring in here because that's what the plan was to do there. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm going to trim. I like to get rid of these long pieces of trim. I can trim out this room. I think that makes more sense because, I don't know, that way I'm kind of going this way and sort of finishing up this area here. I've got pieces to put in here, and you know, all that needs to be done. So, and if I can get rid of these long pieces here, that would be nice. So I'm gonna vacuum this off. I'm just gonna focus on just this one area for the next however long it takes to get it done. Okay, this angle should be fun to cut. So we'll figure out what's going on there with that. I guess we'll just measure it this way, and I'm assuming that's a 45. So actually it shouldn't be that hard. That's what it is. 2 1/4 and a 45. Might be able to just caulk this. Maybe I'll have, well, we'll see. See how tight I can get it. Because I don't know if I want to be nailing trim into the base of that window. So the beauty of being able to cut that 45 is I can keep jamming it up against there. It's going to be this side where we run into imperfections. But anyway, let's keep going. My dreams of caulking have been dashed, but I think I can just shoot straight down and catch something, and then we can caulk on top. So we'll see. Anyway, let's keep going here. Now we just got to cut a 45 to start that with a long one. Alrighty, so this is now, we got flooring on it, so now we're going to put the edge piece on. And the question then becomes, we have a couple options here. Let's see what we got. So this is my, trim going around there. There's a little gap there, caulk that, but those are 22.5 cuts right there, and then again right there. But so for here, I have this giant lip, but it's too much. So I want to see if I can find probably more like that stair lip there. So I'm gonna go to Lowe's, get me a little stair lip like that, and then get some, or see if I have some clear Gorilla Glue caulk around here again. And then I can just run those things. I'll just notch them out of hair and we'll caulk. Anyway, let's do that. Let's go buy us another sort of smaller lip. And there we have it. There's a nice piece of actual wood trim right there. And that's all nice and done. So that takes care of that. Now let's work on getting rid of some of this stuff down there. Okay, so that's what that whole section looks like with some base and cleaned up. We're
a little more organized here. Now I feel like without all this giant mess, I can focus on the kitchen a little bit more and this wall here. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some blinds for this door because I'm tired of looking at this paper. So I'm gonna measure those before I leave. I'm done for the day. We need some upper trim over there and various odds and ends, but this section back here, other than caulk and base paint, is pretty much done. So that's another area that we don't have to revisit. Today's a hot day. It's another day. I think I'm just gonna sit here in this cool AC and put these doorknobs on. I just don't feel super motivated to do anything major today, so just knock this out. Next, for a little relaxing project, is we're gonna put the blinds on these doors. I've gotten the one up there. Put that other clip over there, pre-drill that, clip it in, etc., etc. And there's one blind and two. So that's nice. So now I don't have that crappy looking paper up there with the tape. Looks much more like a room, which is nice. It's just much more pleasant. Wow, what a nice kind of pleasant feeling this is starting to have in here. So now I'm gonna go lay down for a few minutes upstairs, and then I'm going to start working on this thing here. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is we're gonna save us an inch by shaving this tight. You're gonna get it right up to there, and then that's gonna give us that little extra inch, because on this side, we're gonna put a piece over there. And I guess I gotta get all this stuff cleaned back off and put somewhere. And I think I'll set up something in the basement just to get these things cleaned up. This is the basement stairwell, going down the basement stairs, which just, I mean, that was terrible looking. And now it looks absolutely great. So I'm very happy with that. Now this, my friend Ellie did with his crew. So that is just great. That was a horrible, ugly thing when you open that door. So that's nice. Okay. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end here. This will be the end of this. And then the next video is gonna be this wall. The first thing I need to do is finish just running some flooring up to the edge here. This flooring here is gonna go all the way across there because that's where we're gonna cross over. And then I need to get started on this wall. But that'll be a video about the kitchen cabinets. So thanks for watching this episode, and I guess I'll see you in the next episode.